Ladies, listen up. You can wear the crown or you can chase clowns, but you can't do both. A high value woman, she's not born, she's built. And today I'm going to tell you exactly what she never does. Because if you want to rise, you must first stop what's holding you down. She never begs for love. Because love, real love, doesn't come with a receipt or conditions. It doesn't require you to audition, compete, or prove yourself like you're in some twisted emotional job interview. A high-value woman doesn't beg for a seat at a table she built with her own hands. If she has to ask, plead, or shrink to fit into someone's definition of enough, she knows. It's not love. It's emotional blackmail dressed as romance. She understands this one truth. The moment you beg for love is the moment you tell the universe you don't believe you're worthy of it. And she refuses to send that message. Love is not supposed to feel like a transaction where you pay in silence, compromise, and late-night tears hoping for crumbs of affection. She would rather eat alone than sit at a table where love is served cold, only when it's convenient. Ever seen a woman who texts him good morning every single day, even when he stopped replying weeks ago? That's not love. That's fear of being alone, wearing a mask. A high-value woman deletes the chat, blocks the energy, and reclaims her peace. Because she knows, if someone needs to be reminded to love you, they don't deserve you. She doesn't send paragraph texts explaining her worth. She doesn't wait for calls that never come. She doesn't keep the door open for someone who keeps walking in and out like her heart is a convenience store. She doesn't fall for "I'm busy" for the 100th time. Because a man who's truly busy won't forget what he values. He won't make her feel like an option when she's already made him a priority. You know that friend who changes her outfit 3 times before a date? Not because she wants to look good for herself, but because she's terrified he might find someone better. That girl isn't wrong for wanting to impress. But a high-value woman chooses her outfit based on how she feels in it, not how he might rate her out of 10. Because she knows, when you dress to be chosen, you're already telling yourself you're not the prize. She doesn't settle for silence. She doesn't accept confusion as communication. When he ghosts, she doesn't chase. She disappears. Because chasing love is like running after a bus that never planned to stop for you. If someone wants you in their life, they don't test your patience. They protect your presence. And let's not forget the woman who sticks around, thinking he'll change, that the coldness will melt, that the indifference will fade, that one day he'll finally see what she's worth. But darling, love that needs to be earned isn't love. It's labor. And a high-value woman doesn't sign contracts that make her beg for emotional leftovers. She's not afraid of being single because she knows loneliness with self-respect is still more peaceful than company that drains her soul. She chooses peace over potential, reality over red flags, and love over illusion. She knows that love is not about proving your loyalty to someone who is still trying to decide if you're enough. Love is when they already know you are. So no, she doesn't chase. She doesn't beg. She doesn't over-explain. She doesn't sit in a room hoping someone will see her when she's already glowing. She simply walks. Because a man who's truly busy won't forget what he values. He won't make her feel like an option when she's already made him a priority. You know that friend who changes her outfit 3 times before a date? Not because she wants to look good for herself, but because she's terrified he might find someone better. That girl isn't wrong for wanting to impress. But a high-value woman chooses her outfit based on how she feels in it, not how he might rate her out of 10. Because she knows, when you dress to be chosen, you're already telling yourself you're not the prize. She doesn't settle for silence. She doesn't accept confusion as communication. When he ghosts, she doesn't chase. She disappears. Because chasing love is like running after a bus that never planned to stop for you. If someone wants you in their life, they don't test. Elegantly, powerfully, and unapologetically. Because the one who deserves her will never make her beg to be loved. He'll arrive with certainty, not confusion. With effort, not excuses. And until then, she becomes her own home. She never chases attention. Because attention is a drug for the insecure, but a distraction for the powerful. A high-value woman knows that when you have substance, you don't need spectacle. She doesn't post a half-broken heart quote to see who reacts. She doesn't dress to impress strangers who don't even know her story. She walks into a room and silence happens. Not because she shouted for it, but because her presence does the talking. Scroll through your feed and you'll see it. Girls curating perfect lives, perfect faces, perfect smiles. But behind that camera flash is often an exhausted soul, desperate to be noticed. A high-value woman doesn't need that kind of validation. Her confidence isn't pixelated. It lives in her choices, her silence, her stillness. She doesn't post every achievement online because her success isn't a performance. It's a legacy in motion. She doesn't fish for compliments. You won't find her twisting herself into a version others will like. She doesn't say, "Do I look okay 10 times before walking out?" Not because she's arrogant, but because she's already affirmed herself. Her mirror doesn't lie, and neither does her energy. The spotlight doesn't define her. It finds her. Ever seen someone tell a loud joke just to be noticed at a party? Or laugh too hard just to feel seen? That's what chasing attention looks like. Exhausting, temporary, hollow. She doesn't do that. She observes the room before she enters it. She studies the temperature before she speaks. And when she speaks, people listen. Not because she's louder, but because she's real. She doesn't flash her body for claps, because her aura already speaks volume. Not that she hides. No, she celebrates herself. But her sensuality isn't bait. It's grace. It's elegance that doesn't need approval. She doesn't bend to society's obsession with perfection. She chooses authenticity, even when it's unfashionable. Because while attention feeds the ego, authenticity feeds the soul. Look around. There's a woman uploading selfies every hour just to be told she's beautiful. There's another one who steps into a room, no makeup, no filters, and still turns heads. Not because of her face, but because of her fire. That fire, that's what a high-value woman carries. You can't fake it, buy it, or filter it. You live it. She doesn't pick fights for reaction. She doesn't do things just to spark jealousy. If someone forgets her, she lets them. If they overlook her, she thanks them for revealing their blindness. She doesn't chase applause because she's too busy creating symphonies of self-worth. There's that colleague at work who takes credit for everything, speaks over people and brags at every coffee break. Meanwhile, the woman doing the real work stays quiet, focused, unbothered. And one day, she's the one who gets the call, the raise, the leadership. Because she wasn't loud, she was undeniable. She doesn't chase after people who only remember her when they're bored. She doesn't try to outshine others because she knows the sun doesn't compete with candles. She has learned the people who are meant to see her will. The ones who matter won't need convincing. And those who don't value her presence, they're free to miss her brilliance. So no, she doesn't chase attention. She attracts energy. She doesn't need approval. She moves with intention. She lives with depth. And while others are busy trying to be seen, she's busy becoming unforgettable. She never compromises her boundaries. Because boundaries aren't walls. They're doors with locks, and only the worthy get a key. A high-value woman knows that her peace is priceless, and access to her is a privilege, not a right. She doesn't bend her rules just to keep someone from walking away. She doesn't soften her standards so someone else can feel comfortable in their chaos. She draws the line, and she means it. You know that girl who always says yes to everything, even when she's exhausted, drained, and dying for rest? She doesn't want to disappoint, so she stretches herself thin like a rubber band, hoping not to snap. But a high-value woman, she says no without guilt and yes without fear. Because she's not afraid to be disliked for protecting her own soul. There's that moment we've all had. Someone tests you. A friend who borrows your time but never returns it. A partner who says, don't be dramatic when you express your hurt. A boss who says, just this once, expecting overtime with no respect. But the high-value woman doesn't flinch. She says, respect me or release me. But I won't shrink to fit into your comfort zone. She doesn't allow people to walk in and out of her life as if her heart were a hotel lobby. She checks people's intentions at the door. You either come correct or she's not rude, she's clear, not aggressive, just aware. She's learned the hard way that every time you let someone cross a boundary without consequence, you train them how to disrespect you. She doesn't explain herself endlessly. When she says, I don't accept that, she doesn't owe you a monologue. When she says, this is where I draw the line, she's not looking for applause. She's choosing herself. Because she knows, if I don't guard my own energy, I give everyone else the power to drain it. You know that woman in a relationship who keeps forgiving the same disrespect over and over again because she's scared of being alone? She calls it love, but it's actually fear wearing a disguise. A high-value woman loves deeply, but not at the cost of her self-respect. The first time you lie, she checks you. The second time, you check yourself out of her life. She's not afraid to say, I won't tolerate that tone, or this conversation is over if you keep disrespecting me. Not because she's looking for drama, but because she's enforcing her peace. She understands when you tolerate what you don't deserve, you invite more of it. And she refuses to be the architect of her own suffering. There's that friend who only calls when they need something, never asks how she's doing, only shows up when it benefits them. The high-value woman doesn't entertain leeches. She doesn't keep people around out of history, pity, or guilt. If they disrespect her boundaries, she doesn't argue, she distances. Because she knows it's not personal, it's spiritual self-defense. She creates space in her life where only the healthy things grow. She protects her time like a treasure chest. She guards her heart like a queen guards her kingdom. Not because of she's hardened, but because she finally understands her worth. Her boundaries are not made of bricks but of gold. Firm, valuable, and not up for negotiation. So when someone says, you've changed, she smiles and replies, yes. I stopped bleeding for people who wouldn't even hand me a bandage. That's not pride. It's healing. That's not ego. It's evolution. She refuses to be the lesson someone learns after breaking her. She teaches them the moment they try. Because boundaries aren't just about keeping people out, they're about keeping her power in. She never apologizes for her ambition. Because ambition isn't arrogance, it's alignment. It's the fire that lights her path, not the fuel for someone else's insecurity. A high-value woman knows that her dreams were not made to be downsized so others feel comfortable. She's not sorry for wanting more. She's not sorry for dreaming bigger. She's not sorry for being hungry in a world that teaches women to be quiet and satisfied with crumbs. In a boardroom full of men who raise their voices to be heard, she doesn't shout. She speaks with clarity and conviction. When someone says, "You're too intense," she smiles and replies, "I wasn't born to be lukewarm." Her ambition doesn't apologize. It walks in like thunder. And if you can't handle the storm, step aside. She knows her purpose is bigger than their projections. You've seen it, women downplay their goals in conversations. Oh, it's just a side hustle. It's nothing serious. But the high-value woman owns every ounce of her vision. She doesn't shrink her dreams into digestible bites. She says, "I'm building an empire," and she means it. Because she's not in this life to just survive. She's here to dominate her destiny. There's a girl who once wanted to be a writer, but someone told her that's not practical. So she buried that fire under a 9 to 5 and called it maturity. But a high-value woman, she turns that impractical dream into her full-time reality. She sacrifices sleep, comfort, distractions, because she's not chasing luxury, she's chasing legacy. That's the kind of woman who wakes up every morning with a mission. She doesn't wait for motivation, she is the motivation. She's the girl who turns "you can't" into "watch me." And when they call her too ambitious, too bossy, too much, she doesn't lower her volume. She builds a stage and hands them a front row seat. Your discomfort is not my problem. My ambition is not up for approval. That's her energy. There's that co-worker who rolls his eyes every time she shares her idea. That friend who says, "You've changed," because she stopped gossiping and started grinding. She doesn't clap back with pettiness. She claps forward with progress. Because while they're busy talking about people, she's out there building things people talk about. A man once told her, "I need a woman who puts me first, not her career." And she said, "Then find someone else, because my growth is not up for negotiation." That's not defiance, it's self-respect. That's not rebellion, it's rebirth. She doesn't choose between love and legacy. She simply refuses to love someone who fears her light. She doesn't tone down her goals to fit into small circles. She doesn't apologize for not attending every brunch, every party, every meaningless event. She's focused. And focus is rare in a world addicted to distraction. She's not busy. She's intentional. Every no she gives is a yes to the future she's building. People ask her, "Don't you think you're being a bit too ambitious?" And she replies, "Is there such a thing?" Because she knows ambition is not a threat, it's a reflection of purpose. She doesn't see success as a destination, she breathes it, lives it. And when she walks in her vision, she doesn't explain it. Because real queens don't announce the crown, they just wear it. While others wait for permission, she writes her own rules. While some hope to be chosen, she chooses herself. And while many dilute their power to be liked, she dares to be unfiltered, unstoppable, and unapologetically ambitious. She never settles for mediocrity, because mediocrity is the silent killer of greatness. It whispers, "This is enough," when deep down she knows she was born for more. A high-value woman isn't driven by... She doesn't just wake up to exist, she wakes up to evolve. She refuses to let her life be a checklist of average achievements, wrapped in comfort and conformity. Her standards aren't just high, they are non-negotiable. She doesn't stay in a job where her talent is underused and her effort is overlooked just for a paycheck. She says, "I'm not here to be tolerated, I'm here to be treasured. I'm not clocking in for survival, I'm showing up for impact." While others collect weekends, she collects purpose. That's the difference between existing and living. You know that friend who stays in a relationship just because it's okay? No real passion, no deep connection, but it's familiar. A high-value woman? She leaves comfortable when it costs her peace. She walks away from lukewarm love with her head held high and says, "I'd rather be alone in my truth than together in a lie." Because she doesn't chase average energy, she waits for a connection that feels like destiny. She doesn't hang around people who make excuses instead of moves. If your dreams don't scare you, she questions whether you're even awake. If you're content with small talk and small minds, she'll politely exit the room. Because her circle isn't built on history, it's built on hunger. If you're not growing, you're not going with me. That's her motto. She doesn't dress in mediocrity. She walks into a room like she owns the air in it. Not because of the label she's wearing, but because of the legacy she's building. Her aura speaks louder than her outfit. She knows that excellence isn't about being perfect. It's about never settling for less than what ignites your soul. When she speaks, It's not to be heard. It's to be remembered. She's not in competition with anyone. Her only rival is who she was yesterday. When she sets a goal, it's not to impress, to express the fire in her belly and the storm in her spirit. She's the woman who stays late, learns more, works harder, not for applause, but because she's addicted to growth. Mediocrity isn't an option. It's an insult to the gifts she's been given. She doesn't numb herself with distractions just to avoid the discomfort of discipline. She chooses early mornings over endless scrolling. She chooses purpose over popularity. She doesn't follow trends. She sets them. And when the world tells her, be realistic, she answers, realistic never changed the world. There's a difference between being content and being complacent. She knows it well. She's grateful, yes, but never stagnant. She celebrates progress, then plans her next move. Because she knows life rewards the relentless, she's not afraid to start over, switch paths, or climb new mountains. Mediocrity makes her itch, because excellence is her natural state. She refuses to water herself down for people who can't handle her full bloom. She doesn't dim her light for someone else's comfort zone. Instead, she says, if my shine is too bright, put on your shades. That's the power of a woman who chooses greatness over average. She doesn't wait for opportunity. She becomes the opportunity. She doesn't ask for good enough, because she knows she's more than enough. Her standards aren't a wall. They're a mirror. They reflect how deeply she loves herself. And when life throws challenges her way, she doesn't fold, she fires up. Because inside her is a voice that screams, you were not made for mediocre days and half-lived dreams. You were made to rise. And now, if you're still wondering what truly sets a high-value woman apart, it's not just her beauty, not her walk, not her talk. It's her refusal to break herself into pieces just to fit into places that were never meant to hold her greatness. She doesn't conform, she transforms. She doesn't chase, she attracts. She doesn't fear standing alone because she knows the top is always less crowded. And when the world tells her to sit down, she stands taller. And when the world tells her to sit down, she stands tall. When it tells her to quiet down, she turns the volume of her purpose all the way up. She's not for everyone. And that's the point. Because diamonds don't beg to be understood, they just shine. When she walks into a room, she doesn't need an introduction. Her energy speaks before she does. Her silence holds more power than the noise of 1,000 voices trying to bring her down. She's the woman who says, I know what I bring to the table, so I'm not afraid to eat alone. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand. Because she's not here to please, she's here to conquer. She's not afraid of being labeled too much, because she knows too much is exactly what changes the world. She is the storm they never saw coming, the calm they never understood, the fire that never goes out. And every time life tries to cage her, she builds wings out of pain and flies higher. You see, the truth is a high-value woman doesn't walk through fire to prove she's strong. She is the fire. She doesn't run from the dark, she becomes the light. She turns her scars into stories, her wounds into wisdom, and her pain into power. She's not just surviving, she's rewriting the narrative. She's not just dreaming, she's doing. She's not just existing, she's evolving. And when people say she's changed, she smiles. Because evolution is the art of letting go of who you were to become who you were meant to be. Don't fear the fire. She whispers, become it. Her ambition doesn't apologize. Her standards don't negotiate. And her self-respect doesn't blink in the face of manipulation. She chooses peace over drama, silence over chaos, and solitude over fake companionship. Every time she was told you can't, she carved those words into her soul like fuel. She turned every no into a roadmap, every rejection into redirection. She doesn't just bounce back, she bounces higher. Because a woman with purpose is the most unstoppable force on this planet. So if you're watching this, hear this like it's your own heartbeat. Never beg for love. Never chase attention. Never apologize for your fire. Never dim your light to make others comfortable in their darkness. Never shrink to be liked. You were not made to be small. You were made to roar, rise, rebuild, and reign. You are the author of your life. And queens don't beg for pages in someone else's story. They write their own books in bold ink. You don't need validation from a crowd that doesn't know your journey. Your value isn't measured by who chooses you. It's measured by what you choose to walk away from. So step into the world like you were born to shake it. Don't be afraid of your power. Own it. Don't wait for someone to crown you. You are the crown. And if anyone dares to ask you why you shine so bright, just look them in the eye and say, because I stopped settling. Because I remembered who I am. Because in the end, the most dangerous woman is the one who knows her worth and refuses to forget it.